Hello, YouTube. Exactly 2 years ago, I was sitting at the private beach at the Ritz-Carlton in US Virgin Islands. This was exactly 2 days after I had led some VIP clients inside of Timeline Jumping Intensive. And I remember having this deep urge to pick up my phone. I picked up my phone, opened up the Notes app, and these words just started flowing from me. I didn't know if I was writing an email. I didn't know if I was writing a post. Little did I know at that time, I was writing lady balls. I was putting my deepest, potent content body of work in lady balls. When I came back home from US Virgin Islands, I would wake up every morning at like 5 a.m. I'm not an early morning person. I would just naturally wake up and I would have this urge to run to my computer and just start typing. I wrote this entire book in 3 weeks. In fact, I actually took a week off to go back and refinish, like do the second edition of my first book. And so last 2 years ago in 2023, Lady Balls came to the world. And within 20 minutes of Lady Balls being published, it became a top number one seller, bestseller on Amazon in every category that it was placed for. At one time, for a whole week, Lady Balls was outperforming The Secret, the Bible, and some of my own greatest mentors of all time, like Rhonda Bynes, Wayne Dwyer, and so many more. I was blown away with this message. This book has had its own life. It's become its own movement. And so, what I want to do today in celebrating Lady Ball's second birthday today is talk about the work in this book, how this came to be, and the impact that it's had on tens of thousands of women worldwide. And some of the key concepts from here, I also want you to share with me some of your big key concepts or takeaways from this book. What have you taken away from it? Yeah, someone said, I can't believe it's been 2 years. I know. Yes. I cannot believe it's been 2 years. It went by so fast. So, this book, let me talk about Contained in Book, the Contained in Love. This book was written in 2016, and the intention of this book was to document my healing journey up until that point for my daughter. So Alina was 2 years old when I wrote this book. It was never actually written as like for everyone. It was just written for Alina. And that's why when I was writing this, I had this urge to go back and refinish this book, and so that they can be this kind of this journey, right? This was the journey of the businesswoman that became the wife and mother, and then this was the wife and mother that created a movement and a sacred body of work. I dedicated this book to my mother Sheena and my daughter Alina, and from that fractal, I would say from the light of that, it has impacted thousands of women. I always say this, and I'm going to repeat it again because I always want you to remember this. I want you to always know that whatever I say, whatever I teach, it is the honest truth from my point of view, the best of my intention, because this is exactly what I would teach my mother and my daughter. That doesn't mean I'm correct for everyone at any given time, but you can 1000% trust that it would be the same thing I would say to my mother and to my daughter, because that's my fact checking. Anytime someone asks me a question and if there's a part of me that wants to just give them the politically correct answer, I always pause and say, is that what I would say to Alina? Is that what I would say to Sheena? And so this body of work is really this beautiful journey of my mom's life, my life, and my daughter's life, like the lessons that we want to, I know that my mom, if she had met Alina, that's what she would have wanted to teach her. So I want to share with you the origin story of this book, which didn't really start at the Ritz Carlton. It started with my mom. My mother was a driven, ambitious woman, just like you and I. She was educated, she had a high drive, she wanted a good life for herself and her family. She got caught up in people pleasing. She never had a chance to heal her wounding, and she was a badass. She was a savage. That's why I named this book How to Be Savagely Successful in a World Addicted to Suffering. But because she was an immigrant to this country and she never really had a chance to heal her past, even though she was so driven and such a badass, her wounding always pulled her back into that people pleasing and over giving, and she gave and she gave and she gave until she got diagnosed with cancer at 47. She completely burnt out. She kept giving even after that. We found out as a family after my mom passed away that even during the 2 years that she was going through intense cancer treatment, her business had collapsed. She was still sneaking out and sending money back home to her family behind my dad's back. Like, that's just the kind of woman that she was. And from her life and her legacy, I learned many lessons, the good, the bad, the ugly. And one of the lessons that I learned that I was not going to repeat was giving from depletion, over giving toxic charity versus giving from my overflow. That has been a very important theme in my life. Both of my parents were givers, and I love being generous. I love giving. I love giving from abundance, but I had to heal their wounding and the lineage wound that I have of wanting to just give at any expense. And that's definitely a generational curse that I've had to break. And the reason that I dedicated this book, I want to read the dedication page. And actually, one of my beautiful clients pointed out that the dedication page, which reads, "To 7 generations back and 7 generations forward, for Sheena, Annalena, and for us," it just happens to be on page 7. This was not planned. If you guys knew the editing and formatting process, you would know that there's no way I could have planned this. Uh, the fact that it ended up on page 7, like, wow. This book, I'm telling you, it just has a life of its own. And so a lot of my clients, a lot of my students are what I call the sandwich generation. We're the generation that is choosing to take personal responsibility for healing our lineage. We're the ones that are choosing to break those generational curses. We're the ones that's choosing to compound the generational blessings. I didn't just learn what not to do from my parents, I also learned beautiful things from them. Their entrepreneurial spirit, their good kindness, their big heart, their generosity. There's lessons there. The fact that my mother could laugh and brush things out even in the most extreme situations. She was truly the embodiment of the word unbothered. Like, if you looked up the word unbothered, my mom would show up for sure. And her biggest curse, her biggest sin was that she loved too much and she loved too hard and she overgave. And so it became my responsibility to love and give in a way that actually nourished my soul, nourished my family, nourished my wealth, and didn't actually deplete it. Happy birthday. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, this month, November, is so special because it is not only Lady Ball's second birthday, it's actually the Universe Guru brand's birthday too. How many years? 2017, 8 years. So November 17, 2017, I launched my first course. I was already a life coach for 18 months at that point, but it was when I launched that first course that's now the Basic Babe Bundle. I rebranded, like, I not rebranded, I branded myself. So it's my company's birthday and it's also my birthday month. I will turn 45 later this month. And so it's a really special month. And I want to share with you some of the lessons in this book. But tell me, before I do that, What are some of your key lessons from this book? What are your favorite parts of this book? Hi, Valentina. Hello, hello. I've become more decisive and intentional. More savage equals improve my life. Beautiful. Beautiful. I love the seasons of life section as well as manifesting in. Yes, we're going to talk quite a bit about seasons of life. I feel like that was the biggest act of rebellion is was talking about that. That's something that it's still we're very aware of that in my culture, but it's very taboo to talk about that in American culture, in the Western culture. And so that was such a act of rebellion, just even putting this in my book. I knew that it would trigger some people, but I also knew that it was going to wake women up. It was going to jolt them out of the trance that we have been placed inside. Thank you, Nida. I haven't seen you in 5 years. Love you. Looking forward to ordering. Oh, amazing, Samia. Happy to have you back. Oh, happy birthday. Someone said I share my birthday with Lady Balls. Amazing. Happy birthday. The everything happens for me and everyone is capable sections are carried with me daily. Ah, such important trainings. That one, everyone is capable. It's so interesting. That was one of the things my mom taught me, but she never embodied it. And so that was another thing I learned from my mom's journey is that how important it is for me to embody as a mother everything that I want to teach my children because my parents had so much wisdom. Oh my God. I believe my dad was a projector. There's no real way to find out now, but I believe he was a projector, burnt out. They had so much wisdom, but I didn't really always see it as wisdom because a lot of times they weren't embodied in it. And so that was another lesson I had to learn. Yes, amazing. Okay, so let's talk about the most controversial part of this book and my body of work. Oops, I think I lost that page. Let me open it up to the table of contents. The Having It All Blueprint, Chapter 5, page 108 in the paperback. So we have the paperback, we have Kindle, we have hardcover, and we have the audiobook. But right now I'm just looking at the paperback. And you can find this book if you don't have a copy on, if you go to www.ladyballsbook.com, it will bring up the Amazon page with all my books. You can also get it at Barnes and Noble. You can also walk in at any bookstore in any part of the world and tell them to order this book for you from Ingram Spark. And that's how bookstores will know where to order it from. But you can basically get it anywhere. It's also on Audible. Page 108, let's go there. The most controversial why not just start with the most controversial part? Why not? Why don't we do that? Okay, so here we are. And then page 130. Here is the 5 seasons of blueprint I have followed and I'm also teaching my daughter. By the time I wrote this book in 2023, I started my coaching practice in April of 2016. And so I had already been coaching for 4 and then like 7 years by the time I wrote this book, 7, 8 years. And what I was learning is that a lot of brilliant, spiritual, educated women, just like us, had not been given an entire blueprint of their life or like a general guide. And so what they were doing was trying to do the best that they could at just tackling what was in front of them, which oftentimes put them in a situation where they were over optimizing their life for just one thing. And the issue with this is that as women, the way we code success is not just one thing. I have never met a woman that just had just like financial success and considered herself successful or was just, really a good mother and didn't have anything else and considered herself like successful as a high achieving huntress woman. We are coded to look at success in very specific areas. So, women that are attracted to my work, huntress, educated, spiritual women, we consider ourselves successful when we feel really good inside our life experience, when we are happy in divine union, when we have a family that we're building legacy with, when we have financial success, when we feel fulfilled in our career, in our business, that's when we see our life as fully successful. And it makes sense because if you really think about it, we are the latest and greatest, aside from our children and our grandchildren, the most up to date incarnation of the divine feminine, right? Alina is now the more up to date from me. But in my generation, I'm the most up to date. I am the next model of my mom's generation, and then two models out for my grandmother's generation. And so, as evolution works, every generation builds on the previous codes. And so, a couple generations back, many, 3 generations back, 4 generations back, what they were only allowed to do was only be successful in marriage and in mothering. There was still like something missing. Like we weren't even allowed to be huntresses. We weren't allowed to really be driven in the way that we wanted to be. So now in our time, when we have that ability, we can have our own careers, our own business, our own bank account, we can own property and net worth and portfolios. The tendency is to go full on with that. But then we wake up suddenly in our late 30s, 40s, 50s going, uh-oh, I have part of it all, but I feel like something's missing. It doesn't quite feel like I've arrived. Yes, the world tells me I'm so successful because I have my dream career, I have my dream car, I live in a nice house, but where's my divine union? Where is my family? What did I do all of this for? On the other hand, some women go all in building their divine union, their marriage, their family, and maybe their kids are now in school or they're older and they're, moving out of the house, they're getting married, living their own life, and then they go, well, I raised my family, I poured everything into that, but what's the next chapter of my life? What who am I? What's my identity aside from just being wife or mother? And so in our generation, our the huntress type, we really do want it all, but we can't cram it all in like one moment. And so what Lady Balls really does, it teaches you that there are these ideal seasons. That doesn't mean it's always going to pan out that way. I'm not naive. I'm not telling you that way, right? I've seen the worst of life. Trust me, I get it. But it at least gives you this blueprint that you can say, okay, where am I in here? And what do I need to be optimizing my life for? Here's the truth. As women, family will always be our number one priority. That's just how we are. We are spiritual, educated women. We really value family. And that means that we're going to prioritize that, but we don't need to always optimize for that. There's two different things. Let me explain to you what I mean by that. There's a very famous saying that if you have more than 3 priorities, you have none, because we cannot prioritize more than 3 things. We get kind of like lost. We in like shiny object syndrome, we get distracted. So family will always be one of our biggest priorities. But that doesn't mean we're always optimizing our life for that. So, what this means in my world is right now that my children are 21, 15, and 11, my marriage is the best it's ever been, the deepest, the most romance. How I spend time in my family with my kids, like everything feels like heaven. So I'm not optimizing my growth for that. Why? Because I'm just holding the pose in that area. I'm just enjoying my family. I don't need inner work in that area. I don't need growth in that area. Not right now. Everything is like hold the pose. So, what am I optimizing my life for growth is something different. And for me right now is speaking on bigger stages, taking my company from 8 figures to 9, because that's on like it's in heaven cruise control. It's like holding the pose. But when I was in my baby making season, I wasn't on, trying to scale my company. I wasn't trying to over optimize my life for business growth because the most of my energy was required in having and nurturing my family at that time. And the reason I say this is most people, no one's going to tell you this because it's very taboo and people are scared of triggering people and getting attacked and getting canceled and all the things. Okay. Let me tell you this. There's 3 seasons of a woman's life where more is required of her. Like she's going to have to source so much energy. Marriage, motherhood, and menopause. The 3 M's. So when you are in that season, the first 2 years of marriage, oh my God, they require so much of a woman. If you can focus on optimizing your life for that, doesn't mean you don't have a business at that time. It doesn't mean you quit your career. It means that is going to require the most energetic resources, the most capacity. This is why I'm not a big fan when women get engaged. And by the way, oh my God, we are celebrating 2 engagements in Kainat today. Congratulations to my beautiful client who got engaged. And not only did she get engaged, she took the body of work and helped her cousin also get engaged. So we're celebrating 2 engagements. I'm not a big fan when someone will get engaged and then the next day they come on and start teaching relationship. No, no, girl. This is such an energetically sensitive time. You don't want the extra pressure of trying to coach other people or teach other people when you need to be spending time in building that rock solid foundation in your own union first. There's a few exceptions to that, and I can do a whole other video on that. But I just want to talk about that there are 3 very energetically sensitive seasons in a woman's life where no matter what else you have going on, that will take a little bit more energy from you. And so make sure that you are optimizing your life for it. Okay. Let's see. That was a big one for me. I no longer solve imaginary problems. I trust that when and if it happens, solutions will always be available. Yes, that's also a big one, isn't it? That's a big one. I don't remember what chapter it was in, but don't solve imaginary problems. That's also in the book. Amazing. I want to hear more about what were your key takeaways from this book. Let me see what else I want. I'm going to look at my notes. Ah, the other big thing from this book is in 2019, I had downloaded in my consciousness the 4 stages of goddess evolution, which is basic babe, self-aware Barbie, $1,000,000 babe, and high-end divinity. And so this book also gave me a chance to kind of lay that out and actually expand and refine that part of my work. So that's in chapter 3, which is Babes, Barbies, and Lucky Bitches. And that's been such a huge part of my body of work as well, because it gives women a chance to see where they're over functioning, where they need more energetic attunement, where they need more masculine energy, where they need less masculine energy, so that we're not over optimizing our life for just one area. Now, one thing that's not in the book that I do want to touch on is this concept of false lovers. false lovers are anywhere where you're trying to get divine union or whatever the thing is that you should be optimizing for, but you're using it as a coping mechanism. So, an example of this is, let's say that you just got married, and the first 2 years of any marriage, there's going to be a lot of container issues. There's going to be a lot of inner work you're going to have to do. Why? You're learning each other's systems, you're learning each other's triggers, you're merging two different consciousness, two different upbringings, two different routines, two different mindsets, two different energetic bodies into one. And so that is going to be difficult energetically in the first couple of years, right? And so let's say your marriage, it's new, or you're going through a season of life where it feels a little crunchy. It feels a little sticky. What high achieving, driven huntress women like us will just say, "Oh my god, this is so hard. I'll just focus on my business." Now, there's nothing wrong with focusing on your business. I love that you have your own business or your career. The issue is that you're using it as a false lever. You're trying to extract out of your business or making money or overeating or overspending what you're desiring from your divine union. But because it feels difficult in that area, you're trying to get it from the false lever. I've also seen it the other way around, where it's time for you to expand your career. It's time for you to expand how much money you're making, how much money you're holding. And every time you try to do that, it's hard, it's crunchy, it feels like, oh, you have to like unlearn things and learn things. And you're like, screw it, I'll just go back to my marriage. Like I'm just gonna focus on this. But that doesn't really require focus right now. That requires holding the pose. In fact, because you're not doing the thing you're supposed to be doing, you keep putting unnecessary burden and pressure on your marriage, and your perfectly fine marriage seems like now it's getting hard because you're trying to break your marriage to fix it so you actually don't have to look at this other thing. Those are all false lovers. And so you do get to have it all, but I want you to have it in a way, have it all in a way where making more money doesn't break the marriage. Focusing and evolving the marriage doesn't ruin your business. Having it really like in a good place with the marriage and the business doesn't add weight to you. You don't like sabotage your body goals. And so that is that like energetic psychic attunement of knowing, okay, I know you're overly focused on your business, but what are you avoiding in your marriage? Or you keep breaking your perfectly fine marriage because you really need to be working on this thing over here. And so that's the next layer that I really want you to tap into. You have changed my life. Keep doing you, Mina. I feel called to tell you that even your mistakes create blessings in your students' lives. Thank you, gorgeous. I appreciate that. This false lovers concept is resonating heavily. Yes. And we all do it. We all do it. I'll give you an example of this. So, earlier this year, uh, I picked up on something really interesting in my own life. I had this new level of expansion in my container. I was experiencing joy at a next level. My relationship did another 10x. Just when I think my marriage can't possibly get any better, it goes next level. My income, my business, like everything. And then, suspicious, I start putting on weight. Start like celebrating with food, start putting on weight. And I'm like, what's happening here? And then I realized, oh my God, I've done this before. Every time I hit a new level of enjoyment, pleasure, joy, I put on a little bit of weight. It's like the freshman 15 or the honeymoon weight. And so my husband, who co-teaches Kainat with me, my group mentorship, I had him do a session on me. And what was uncovered blew my mind. What was uncovered that when I was a little girl and when times were good in my family, I was raised in an immigrant household, time, it was always like up and down. Sometimes we had a lot of money, sometimes we didn't have money. When times were good and my parents had time for us, they would cook and we would eat. And so in my mind, good times, really next level good times, meant eat a lot of food. And so I was using food as a false lover of celebration. And so I had to recode myself. I had to say, oh my God, I don't want to celebrate this next expansion through food. I want to celebrate it through other ways. And so these are, eating is not bad. Celebrating with food isn't bad. I come from a culture where we celebrate with food. But not noticing these false lovers, that's going to lead to problems later on. I used to have all the focus in the career and didn't take time to know myself and real partner. Yeah, and I get it because we live in a world where, there is a lot of conflicting advice because every piece of advice is good advice for someone. And so this is why, notice that I'm a 8-time certified master life coach. I'm not a business coach. I'm not just a relationship coach. I'm not just a health coach, because someone needs to be able to come and look at your entire timeline. Otherwise, what's happening is we're just over optimizing. Like women that get obsessed with working out to the point where they like completely ruin their hormones. Okay, girl, you got, working out is good, but you got over optimized in one area because it became a false lover eventually for her. She's trying to get all of her life satisfaction and joy and bliss from working out at the gym. Working out is great. I love working out, but I'm not going to get all my joy and bliss and satisfaction from that one thing by over optimizing it. That's what can happen, especially when you love it, when you love that thing. I love all areas of my life, but I don't want to be robbing from any area to give to some other area. I hope this is landing for you guys. I feel spoiled today. Amazing, transformative call for voltage and visibility. And now we get to see your gorgeous face. Thank you, Ella. We had so much fun in voltage today. That was one of my favorite classes in there. I say that in every class, but it's really, today was amazing. Yes, amazing. I learned from you. Stop being people pleaser, value your work, energy, and time, much more. Here's another thing. Even the whole people pleaser thing, we have to understand that we don't want to go in extremes in any direction. A lot of times, people who are people pleasers, they go in the extreme and then they cut everyone off. That's not healthy either. And so, my entire body of work is really being abundant from the inside out, really being the right optimized version of ourselves and not playing on these extreme pendulums where we're over giving. Oh no, now I'm isolating and everyone's dead to me, right? I'm overly focused on working out, or I'm overweight. I'm obsessed with men and dating, or I hate men. It's like, no, let's stop doing that. Let's stop burning things down. Let's stop playing on the extremes, because having it all needs a very mature conversation. It takes psychic level precision of, okay, where in the timeline am I? And where am I headed if I stay on this timeline? We're not doing that extreme. You know what? A lot of times I see this in women that their career is going great, their business is going great, they're like, oh my gosh, okay, I need to start dating for marriage. They start dating. Well, with anything, when you start doing something new, it's going to feel a little sticky. You're learning new ways of being. They start dating. Let's say have a bad date. And then some random weirdo messages them on the dating app. They're like, oh my God, forget this, screw this. I'm just going to go focus on my business. And then they just focus on that. But now something that was healthy, which is their business and their career, is kind of becoming a false lover. And then they wake up 3 years later and they're like, oh my God, I'm 37 And like, I haven't even started dating for marriage and I wanted 3 kids. Like, now they're panicking. And then they do that again for a little bit and they're like, forget it. And then they go back into that. And so, really, this is a mature and healthy conversation on, yeah, things when we start something new, it is going to feel a little sticky because, especially if we are huntresses, we probably over optimize our life for just one area. This is why my body of work, no matter where you come in, it matches you there. My Kainat, Celestial Prosperity, my 1 year mentorship, this is what happens in there. Women come in thinking, oh, I'm going to come and I'm focused on my business. All of a sudden, their relationship with their dad transforms. All of a sudden, they move back in with their estranged husband. All of a sudden, it's like, oh, I thought I was coming in for that. Yeah, you thought you were coming in for that because you were using that thing as a false lover. But what you actually needed was this, this, and this. Once that heals, suddenly everything blossoms. And this is an actual story I'm sharing with you. This really happened recently in one of my with one of my students in Kainat. She came in wanting to make money in her business. Her relationship with her estranged father completely transformed. A few weeks later, she moved back in with her husband. She was separated. Now her husband and her show up on a group coaching call with my husband and I in Kainat. Now she'll make the money that she wanted, but the divine masculine, her energy with her dad was causing the issues in her business and in her marriage. But she wouldn't have seen that because she was using the money and the business as a false lover. And if you just hire business coaches, they're just going to focus on growing your business. And you're wondering, why am I not making any money? Yeah, because we haven't dealt with the spiritual root cause. By the time something is manifested as a problem in our life, it's already been happening in the spiritual realm for a really long time. It didn't just suddenly start here. A lot of times women will come in saying, I thought I came in for my business, but I'm having the best sex of my life with my husband. Yes, because now you're going to make more money too. Because that's the thing that actually needed the juice, the aliveness. That's what you needed the next optimization, but you thought it was from the money. That will actually make you more money because a woman that's well nourished from the inside out, her relationship with the divine masculine and divine feminine is healed and whole and integrated and braided. Oh my God, watch out. Because now everything that she puts her energy towards, whether it's her health or her marriage or her children or her business, her career, her movement, her parents, her friendships, they all blossom. They must. Because this is now coming from overflow. It's now coming from the depth of her real being, her spirit, not just the ego, not just the whatever the false lover was, from the depth of her being, from her aliveness, not from, I'm trying to fix this money thing right over here. It's like, yeah, but why are you having this money thing right here? Let's go back. Let's spiritually rewind. And this doesn't mean that you need a decade of therapy. I've actually had clients, we have psychotherapists actually in Kainat, and they say that they've been to therapy for decades, their whole own self. They actually became psychotherapists themselves. And what they learn in 1 or 2 classes with me, they're like, oh my God, this blows my mind. Because again, psychically being able to see someone's entire timeline, it's like energetic spiritual surgery. It's like one little shift, one paradigm thing. And with that, I actually want to invite you into Overflow, the lifestyle rich woman, because I don't want you to be overly optimized in any one area. So this is a six lesson, like 6 transmission portal that I've created. It's the last transmission of 2025 that I'm doing. Currently, it's on pre-order for Lady Ball's birthday for $111. It's linked in the description box. I highly recommend that you sign up. These 6 transmissions are going to be the energy loop closing of this year and all the past timelines so that you can really step into in 2026 and beyond into the right timeline for you. Not over optimize in what your mind is telling you or your ego is telling you. We love the mind, we love the ego, we love the human self, but what the spirit needs to right size that. And so Overflow starts live on November 26th. Right now, we're in the pre sale of it. It's going to be 6 live transmissions. The full name is Overflow, the Lifestyle Rich Woman. In here, I'm also going to take you behind the scenes of the final touches my husband and I are putting together on our next in person event. Every year in January, we have this in person event here in Houston. And the next one is happening in January 13th, 14th, and 15th. And it's called Addicted to Abundance. And I can't wait to finally meet. I know I have a lot of repeat people too, but some of you guys I'm going to meet for the first time. Some of you guys I've met many, many times before, but I can't wait to see you again. I think even if I've seen you again, I'm probably going to see you again for the first time because we all transform at quantum speeds over here. And it feels like we have to like reintroduce ourselves. Let's see what you guys are saying. So, favorite parts of Lady Ball. Mina, I was talking to a man on an app today and it wasn't going well. And then your voice came to me saying, "What's a woman of your caliber doing in this app?" Then I left the chat immediately. Yes. Yes. I'm so glad you woke up inside of that experience. Like, what am I even doing here? Damn, everything is so connected. That's why my inner work I do with you has an effect on my overall life. Yes, because when you go to the root cause, the spirit, everything must recode. But a lot of us, what we do, and it's just the way the world is, the 3D world, like I totally get it, is we try to fix that outward manifested problem, not realizing that it actually started spiritually first. And my gift, we every single woman is psychic. Every single woman. Psychic just means intuition 10x. That's it. Means you have practiced your intuition so well as a woman that it is full blown in a psychic experience now. Men are psychic too, but as women, we have a whole nother level of it. And so my psychic gift is being able to attune to every woman and man and children exact timeline. And if they're on the right timeline for them, I can help you go there 10x faster. I love speed. I'm a huntress. You guys know how I am. I'm like the goddess of speed. But if you're on the wrong timeline, it is my spiritual responsibility to tell you that. That's why in Kainat, I do not hold back. I'm like, girl, I know you say that's what you want, but spiritually, this is what's going on. And then bam, 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 energetic surgery. That's not something you can Google. That's not something you can duct tape together from YouTube and Instagram and TikTok. That's not something ChatGPT will tell you. ChatGPT, as amazing of a tool as it is the most extreme outward embodiment of the logical mind. It is the most extreme logical experience. It's the exact opposite of psychic attunement. And so this is why when you go to that much of a deep root, it has to have a ripple effect in every area of your life. Every area, even the ones you didn't think you needed, right? Like when my client came in for business, she didn't think she needed to fix her relationship with her dad in his last moments. She didn't know that that's the thing why her husband was separated. It didn't seem connected. It None of it seemed connected. It didn't seem like the business was connected to the divine union and was connected to the original coding of the divine masculine. None of it. Addicted to Abundance is my birthday present, 112. I cannot wait. Amazing. Ella, you and Alina are very close birthday twins. So I guess we're gonna have to do like a birthday thing for all of our January birthdays. Did you guys know I was obsessed with having a January baby? I love January babies. So since I was little, I noticed that every single January baby I knew was a multimillionaire. or on their way to going, and then eventually became a multimillionaire. And I was like, I gotta have one January baby. Funny thing is that we became a millionaire the 2 months before Alina was born. So she was born a millionaire already. I'm just like, oh my God, this January thing is so correct. I'm 48 and still in my motherhood stage as my son is 11 and needs a lot of care and attention. I love these stages reminder. It is so soothing. Beautiful, Kate. And I do want to add to that that doesn't mean Kate can't have a business. That doesn't mean that Kate is not focused on self care as well. It just means she's not going to be over optimizing her life. Like when I posted on my other channel, I gave the example that I was recently working with a client. She just had a baby. Her marriage is like only a couple years in. Her dad just got diagnosed with a terminal illness, and she has a business coach. She didn't hire me for business coaching. She hired me to help her with her dad and her marriage and the transition of all of that. And so she was telling me her business coach it wants to help her expand her business. Obviously, that's what business coaches do. That's a great business coach. However, the issue is that her business expanding means she's traveling almost every week. Well, here's the thing with a 1 year old and a very ill father and a new marriage, and her husband has a very demanding job, she's going crazy traveling every week. And so I said, okay, your business coach is doing what you hired them to do. However, is that what we should be optimizing your life for? And so as I was coaching her, she realized actually she was quite happy with the multi six figures she was making in her business right now, which required about 12 to 15 hours a week from her that she can comfortably do with her dad's situation, with her marriage, with her toddler. And she's like, you know what? This isn't the year that I build an empire. This is the year that I sustain the multi six figures. And so imagine if she hadn't hired me, she was just working with a business coach. This is the advice that the business coach gave her. She said, why don't you just take your son with you? And she said, well, I can't do that. In order to expand the business, she has to do the traveling because she has to be there. So the business coach says, okay, why don't you hire a nanny? So she tried that, but now she took the business, the nanny and the child with her. But while she's with the client, she's worried about the nanny and the baby in the hotel room, and she's still worried about her dad. So then she went back to the business coach, and the business coach said, why don't you just fly private and take your mom, your dad, and your baby and the nanny, and then you'll be fine. And then she's like, well, what about my husband's work? And like, he's going to be without the baby and da 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 da. And what if my mom doesn't want my dad who's sick in and out of the hospital traveling? She's like, well, just have your husband quit his job. And I'm like, what are we doing? Okay, why are we going to have a perfectly healthy masculine provider man quit his perfectly amazing job, who he pays all the bills right now in the marriage, to go chase this thing on private jets? Is this what you want right now? Like, let's pause, let's go back and say, is this what you want? What do you want? All of those things are great options. Nothing's wrong with taking your dad with you. Nothing's wrong with flying with a nanny. Nothing's wrong with, flying private. None of those things are wrong. But is that what you want right now? Is that what you want? What is your desire? And when she tuned into that, that's not what she doesn't want her husband to quit his perfectly amazing job and career and start depending on her business. She doesn't want to drag her dad through his last moments of life to her business stuff. That's not the kind of mom she wants to be either. What she wants is right now having somewhere to pour her creativity, her energy, the multi six figure business that she has. She wants to be there for her mom and her dad through this really stressful time. She wants to be the kind of mother that she always wanted to be, knowing that, hey, you cannot manifest your children being toddlers again. You can build a business anytime. You can expand it at any time. And what's wrong with making multi six figures a year in your business, working 12 to 15 hours a week? I don't see anything wrong with that. That's a beautiful business. Not all of us have to be cramming every facet of growth in 1 year, especially at times when we don't necessarily have the capacity. By the way, this is so funny. The other day, I saw this article on Facebook. It said that Michael Jackson is the highest earning dead celebrity this year. And I had a chuckle because I'm like, wow, you could still be the highest earning celebrity even after you're dead. But you know what you can't do is get married and be having babies after you're dead. And so it's one of those things that having it all and doesn't mean burning anything down. I didn't tell my client to burn down her multi six figure business. I just said, is this the time for you to be flying around everywhere when you don't know what's happening with your dad and your baby is one? And she said, no, this is not what I want. And the truth is, when her baby goes to school, or even maybe in a year or 2 years, she can scale her business anytime. Sometimes, I'm going to say it, don't be mad, but sometimes we have to unscale our business to scale our life. I'll give you another example. I was working with a client, this was not too long ago, but not that recent either. So she hired me as a dating and spiritual advisor, and she would be sitting in her car crying on her lunch break. And she was crying not because of the dating situation. I thought we are going to start talking about dating. Nope. Every single day that we would get on a call, it was the same issue over and over again. Her team, my business manager, this person did this, they did that, they're arguing, they were late. She had built this business with a 12-person team that was driving her insane. So let's rewind and let me tell you her story. So when this woman was 34 years old, she quit her corporate job, started a business, and hired a business mentor. And what business mentors are designed to do is help you start your business and grow your business. Oh, perfect. That's what most people should do, right? Hire a business mentor. But here's the thing. Her ultimate goal to quit the job and start the business wasn't really even about the business. She wanted marriage and a family. And she thought that if she got out of corporate, she would have more time and energy to be able to find her soulmate. So from she starts the business and she's stressed out in the business, she's overwhelmed, and the business coach says hire a team. So she hires one person. Then that's stressful, so she hires another person. Long story short, by the time she hires me, she's 37. She went from 34 to 37. She's sitting in her car crying every day over the team. And guess what? Who wants to guess what her business coach is telling her when she's stressed out? Anyone want to take a stab at it? When she's overwhelmed from managing this chaos of a team, what do you think her business coach was telling her? Let me see what you're going to say. Delegate. Yep. What else? Hire more team. Hire a team manager. Hire more people. Hire someone. But that's what got her into that mess. So when this was happening, I said, let's pause and rewind. Let's look at your timeline. Okay, you are now 37. You want to get married. She wanted 3 kids. So I asked her, I said, let's look at the whole timeline of the woman that you are. What is your deepest desire? She said, not this. She's like, I don't want to be a manager. I don't want to be this crazy CEO with a whole team. So I said, why are we hiring more people? So what I had to do, what I taught her to, what I did with her was we unscaled her business. We got her team down to 2 people, 2 right people that weren't fighting like they were kindergartners. My husband helped her create SOPs so that she needed to interact with her team as minimum as possible. I'm like, why did you quit corporate and now you're doing meetings every day with your team? What? No. And initially, it was energetically like, because she was like, oh, my income's going to go down. So she was making multi six figures. But here's what happened, her income did initially go down. But suddenly, she had more money in her bank account. You know why? Because she weren't paying 10 extra people. And she wasn't spending money on all of these false lovers to get quick bursts of energy because she was so depleted at work. And then we said, okay, what is the thing you need to optimize your life for? She said, dating for marriage. I said, okay, we got her a matchmaker. We got her the right spiritual beliefs, coding shifts, and she started building her rotation. And within a few short months, she had her business down to something that she can handle, that's producing her initially less money than before, but more profit. Who cares about more money if you can't even keep all of it and it's stressing you the hell out and it's costing you the biggest blunder of your life, that you're not going to get to have the divine union and the family that you want to have? Like, who cares? Do we all just want to optimize our life for the most money? Why? Who are we going to leave it to if we let go of everything else to have it? That's not legacy. Just only optimizing life for money. I love money, don't get me wrong, but I want money to enjoy with my family. That's what brings me joy. That's like the whole experience of having it all, not just over optimizing for one thing. And some women are over optimized in their children's lives, and then they're micromanaging their children, and then their children don't want anything to do with them. That's not healthy either. And so, in order to feel the most fulfilled, the most alive, the most happy, blissful, being the most abundant incarnate version of the divine feminine yet, we need to understand our entire timeline and optimize our life at the moment. Even though, yes, we always prioritize family first, but we don't need to be over optimizing for that either. Because here's the thing, my family doesn't need over optimizing right now. Otherwise, I'm trying to fix something that's not broken or doesn't need any fixing. And so my creative energy goes towards my business at that moment. But that is all beautiful. It's my heaven, it's my bliss. And then there are seasons where maybe I need a little bit of focus on something else in my marriage or in my parenting, and then I do that. But we need options, we need space for that. But when we hire people, like it's like going to a heart doctor, they're like, everything is a heart problem. You go to a foot doctor, everything in your life is a foot doctor. Yeah, but your foot is attached to the rest of your body. Your heart is the energetic center, the point where your soul is connected to your body. We need someone to be able to look at our entire timeline. And that's my body of work. That's my gift, is being able to look at the whole woman, the whole lifetime, the whole, even many lifetimes before and many timelines ahead, and being able to say, okay, is this what you really want right now? Is this what we're optimizing our life for? Oh my God, Mina, you are speaking to me. Thank you so much. So true. So true. And I'm not saying business coaches are bad, life coaches are bad, no, we need all of those, but we need them after we already have all the timeline, right? It's like if someone's foundation is cracked in their home and their entire house is caving in, but they keep trying to hire someone that's going to come paint over the cracks. That's not what they need. We need to fix the whole foundation cracking, falling in. Otherwise, even the best painter can't fix that situation. They'll just keep patching it up and patching it up and patching it up. But what about the root cause? What about the spiritual? Notice that the wealthier a person gets, the more spiritual they get, the more spiritual team they hire. Why is it that the billionaires and the centimillionaires and the decamillionaires have spiritual mentors and they go to spiritual retreats and they have like psychics and they have mediums and they have oracle card readers and numerologists and because they understand that whatever they want to manipulate and grow in the physical realm begins in the spiritual realm. They understand this. They understand what's actually happening. That's why they got to that level of success. They didn't do it by forcing themselves upon matter. They didn't do it by trying to paint over a cracked wall over and over again. They went to the root. And that's this body of work, the root. Thank you. Oh my gosh, Sheena Brown, you share a name with my mama. Hi, Sheena, first time catching you live. Welcome. Thank you, Mina, for showing us we can grow gracefully 1000%. A woman is grace. She is the embodiment of grace. Mina, thank you for your work. How do you know in which area or where to put the focus? Always afraid to be on the wrong timing. So this is a part of my work that I attune with clients. Unfortunately, I can't do that here. It is an art. And here's the thing. Right now, it's harder than ever for the average person. Why? Because there's so much content and advice coming at us. We have mirror neurons, and I have fallen trap for this too, even though this is my body of work. What happens is when we start watching content that's created for someone else in a different season of life, and we're like, oh, I should be doing that. Maybe I need to do that with my business. But maybe this isn't the season of your life to be doing that particular thing in your business. Nothing wrong with that thing, but maybe right now is not the right time. And you start over optimizing for that. But really, what needs your attention maybe was your marriage, or maybe your children needed your attention, maybe your health needed your attention, maybe your parents needed your attention. And it's hard. I'm going to be the first to admit, with so much conflicting advice coming at us 24/7, and everything is shiny object. And then we have the hunter's brain that, unfortunately, hunters and huntresses, we tend to get trapped in the glitz and the glamour of the next thing. It is hard. And so this is why in Kainat, regardless of where they come in, and they're like, Mina, I just want to go all in my business. I'm like, okay. Because what happens is once they're in there, in the next weeks, as I'm coaching in hot seat, as I'm on Telegram with them, I start seeing it, what the actual thing is. And then magic starts to happen. That's why I let them come in for whatever pathway. So the way I've designed Kainat is there is a prosperity pathway. So I give you all of the strategy for business. And there's two versions of the strategy. There is the I'm really actually supposed to be optimizing for my business. I'm going to go all in and I'm going to quickly scale to 6 and 7 and 8 figures. We'll give you that strategy. And then there is the modified version of the strategy. The modified version, the hybrid, is for the woman that's maybe having her babies right now. She still wants to make 6 figures, multi 6 figures, but she wants to do it with a little bit of ease and grace. She doesn't want to over optimize for that. So we give her that strategy too. And then there's the second pathway, which is the polarity pathway. The polarity pathway helps you fix your own inner dynamic with the masculine and feminine, and then your dynamic with the masculine and feminine in divine union, and the masculine and feminine in parenting, and the masculine and feminine in money. And then there is the play pathway. The play pathway is how do you put together these different areas of life? How can your divine union support your inner growth? How can your inner growth expand your business?